The 1937 Coronation Honours were awarded in honour of the coronation of George VI. Royal Honours: Order of the Thistle the Queen, Royal Victorian Chain the Queen, Queen Mary, Royal Victorian Order the Queen of Norway, Mary, Princess Royal and Countess of Harewood, Princess Louise, Duchesses of Argyll, Princess Beatrice, Order of the British Empire, the Duchess of Gloucester, the Duchess of Kent, Princess Alice, Countess of Athlone, Privy Council, the Duke of Kent, Peerages, Earldoms via Brabazon, Earl of Bessborough, GCMG, Claude George, Earl of Strathmore and Kinghorn, KT, GCVO-TD, Viscountcies Sir Robert Stevenson Horn, GBE, KC-MP, Sir Herbert Lewis Samuel, GCB, GBE, MP, Baronies Christopher Addison, MD, FRCS, MP, Sir George Bowyer, BT, MC, DL, MP, Sir John Cadman, GCMG, Admiral of the Fleet Sir Alfred Erne Le Montagu Chatfield, GCB, KCMG, CVO, Julius Salter Elias, Colonel John Cuthbert Denison Pender, MP, Sir Frederick George Penny, BT, JP, MP, Sir Walter Russellry, BT, Sir John Davenport Siddeley, CBE, Knights, Ladies of the Order of the Garter, Captain His Grace Bernard Marmot Duke of Norfolk, Henry Hugh Arthur Fitzroy, Duke of Beaufort, GCVO, William Thomas Brownlow, Marquis of Exeter, CMG, TD, Claude George, Earl of Strathmore and Kinghorn, KT, GCVO, TD, Knights, Ladies of the Order of the Thistle, Lieutenant Colonel John James Hamilton, Earl of Stair, DSO, Sir Ian Colquhoun, BT, DSO, Privy Councillors, Edward Leslie Bergen, MP, Sir Felix Castle, BT, KC, Colonel Sir George Lloyd Courthope, BT, MC, JP, DL, MP, Sir Patrick Duncan, GCMG, Governor-General of the Union of South Africa, Isaac Foote, MP, Viscount Galway, GCMG, DSO, OBE, Governor-General of New Zealand, Brigadier Baron Gowrie, GCMG, CB, DSO, Governor-General of Australia, Ernest Lapointe, KC, Frederick William Pethick Lawrence, MP, Sir Robert William Hugh O'Neill, BT, MP, Lord Snell, CBE, JP, MP, Lord Tweedsmuir, GCMG, CH, Governor-General of Canada, Baronetcies, Sir Richard Dawson Bates, OBE, DL, MP, Captain Sir William Edge, JP, MP, Major Sir George Hamilton, 1st Baronet, JP, MP, Commander Archibald Richard James Southby, JP, DL, MP, Sir Cuthbert Sidney Wallace, KCMG, CBF, RCS, LRCP, Sir David Milne Watson, DL, Sir Robert Eaton White, VD, DL, Knighthood, Captain Thomas Noel Arkle, for political and public services in Swindon, Wiltshire. The Right Honourable Anthony Brutus Babington, K.C. MP, Attorney General, Northern Ireland. Arnold Edward Trevor Bax, ESQ, D. Muse, for services to music. John Bennett, ESQ, Vice-Chancellor of the Court of the County Palatine of Lancaster. Henry Burney, ESQ, JP, D.L., for political and public services in Croydon. Archibald Campbell Black, ESQ, O.B.E., KC, Procurator of the Church of Scotland since 1935. Maurice Block, ESQ, JP, for political and public services in Glasgow. Muirhead Bone, ESQ, Ul.D., for services to art. Paul Malone Booth, ESQ, Chairman of the Management Committee of the National Liberal Club, for political and public services. William Bradshaw, ESQ, JP, President of the Cooperative Wholesale Society. Clement Edmund Royds Brocklebank, ESQ, MP, Member of Parliament for the Fairfield Division of Liverpool since 1931 and for East Nottingham 1924 to 1929. For political and public services, George Frederick Lucas, ESQ. C.B.E. Speaker of the House of Keys, Isle of Man. Lieutenant Colonel William Thomas Cox, D.S.O. for Public and Philanthropic Services. Robert William Dalton, ESQ. C.M.G. His Majesty's Senior Trade Commissioner in Australia. Hubert Arthur Dowson, ESQ. Solicitor of Nottingham. President of the Law Society. Oscar Follett Dowson, ESQ. C.B.E. Legal Advisor, Home Office. David Rowland Evans, ESQ, General Secretary of the Liberal National Organisation, for Political and Public Services. Frank Fletcher, ESQ, formerly Master of Marlborough College and Headmaster of Charterhouse School. Colonel Edmund Vivian Gabriel, C.S.I., C.M.G., C.V.O., C.B.E. Gentleman Usher to His Majesty the King. Charles Granville Gibson, ESQ, M.P., Member of Parliament for Pudsey and Otley since 1929. For Political and Public Services. Major Francis William Crewe Featherstone Godley, O.B.E.D.L., Chairman, National Executive Council of the British Legion. Arthur Frederick Hurst, ESQ, D.M.F., R.C.P., Senior Physician to Guy's Hospital. Ernest James Johnson, ESQ. For Political and Public Services in Staffordshire. Sidney Midlane Johnson, ESQ. Secretary of the County Councils Association. Charles Sidney Jones, ESQ, Pro-Chancellor of Liverpool University. For Public Services. Henry Hayden Jones, ESQ, MP, Member of Parliament for Merioneth since 1910. For Political and Public Services. Colonel John James Jones, VD, JP, DL. For Public and Philanthropic Services in Wales. Thomas William Miller Jones, ESQ. For Political and Public Services in the East End of London. Percy John Luxton Kelland, ESQ, M. R.C. V.S. Chief Veterinary Officer, Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. Alderman Harold Vaughan Kenyon, M.B.E. J.P. For Political and Public Services in West London. Robert McDougall, ESQ, J.P. For Public and Philanthropic Services, especially to the National Trust. Gilbert McIlcombe, ESQ, J.P. For Political and Public Services in Gloucestershire. William Marchbank Marshall, ESQ. For Political and Public Services in Scotland. Commodore Charles George Matheson, D.S.O.R.D.R.N.R. Commodore, Orient Steam Navigation Company. Alan Moore, ESQ, Lit. D.F. B.A. Provost of University College, London. Director of Survey of English Place Names. Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Cecil Russell Moore, C.B.E. MP, Member of Parliament for the Airbergs since June 1925. For Political and Public Services. George Morley, ESQ, C.B.E. Chief Constable of Durham. Judge Alan George Mossip, Judge of His Majesty's Supreme Court for China. John Niven, ESQ, Chairman of the Baltic Mercantile and Shipping Exchange. Robert Howson Pickard, ESQ, D.Sc. Ph.D. F.R.S.F. I.C., Director of the British Cotton Industry Research Association. Alexander West Russell, ESQ, M.P., Member of Parliament for Tynemouth since November 1922. For Political and Public Services. Joshua Schofield, ESQ, K.C., Chairman of the Railway Assessment Authority. President, London Passenger Transport Arbitration Tribunal. Harry Bertram Shackleton, ESQ, Chairman of the Wool Textile Delegation. President of the Wool and Worsted Trades Federation. Major Reginald Hugh Dorman Smith, J.P.M.P., President of the National Farmers Union. Major Thomas Gabriel Lumley Smith, D.Sof. S.A. Grand Secretary of Master Masons. Louis Saul Sterling, Esq. For Political and Public Services. John Taylor, Esq. For Political and Public Services in Blackburn. Professor Darcy Wentworth Thompson, C.B.D. Lit. D. Sc. D.F. RSF. RSE. Professor of Natural History, University of St. Andrews. Sylvanus Percival Vivian, Esq. C.B. Registrar General in England and Wales. Hugh Seymour Walpole, Esq. C.B.E. for Services to Literature. Pelham Francis Warner, Esq. M.B.E. for Services to Sport. Harold Beckworth Whitehouse, Esq. M.B. M.S.F. R.C.S. Professor of Midwifery and Diseases of Women, University of Birmingham. William Valentine Wood, Esq. Senior Vice President of the Executive of the London Midland and Scottish Railway Company. Captain William Henry Laycock Wordsworth, J.P. for Political and Public Services in the North Riding of Yorkshire. Dominions. Henry Chapman, Esq. C.B.E. Resident Director and General Manager of the Rhodesian Railway Companies. Robert William Chapman, Esq. C.M.G. Professor of Engineering, University of Adelaide, State of South Australia. For Public Services. William James Clemens, Esq. C.M.G. I.S.O. Commissioner, Public Service Board, Commonwealth of Australia. Samuel Sidney Cohen, Esq. For Public Services in the State of New South Wales. Major the Honourable Henry Allen Curry, M.C., Member of the Legislative Council, State of Victoria. For Public Services. Ernest Davis, Esq. Mayor of the City of Auckland, Dominion of New Zealand. Ernest Thomas Fisk, Esq. A.M.I.E. For Public Services in the State of New South Wales. Charles John Boyd Norwood, Esq. For Public Services in the Dominion of New Zealand. James Wallace Sandford, Esq. For Public Services in the Commonwealth of Australia. The Honourable Alexander George Wales, J.P. Lord Mayor of the City of Melbourne, State of Victoria. India. M.R. Rai, Devan Bahadur Subrayalukku Maraswamy Reddy Yaravagal, lately Minister for Education and Public Health to the Governor of Madras. Rao Bahadur Chowdhury Chotu Ram, Member of the Punjab Legislative Assembly, Minister for Development to the Governor of the Punjab. Idwal Jeffrey Lloyd, Esq. C.S.I. Indian Civil Service, lately Member of the Executive Council of the Governor of Burma. Robert Ernest Jack, Esq. Indian Civil Service, Queen Judge of the High Court of Judicature at Fort William in Bengal. Kenneth William Barley, Esq. Barrister at Law, Indian Civil Service, Queen Judge of the High Court of Judicature at Bombay. John Gibthorne, Esq. D.So. M.C., Queen Judge of the High Court of Judicature at Allahabad, United Provinces. Frederick Lewis Grill, Esq. Barrister at Law, Indian Civil Service, Queen Judge of the High Court of Judicature at Nagpur, Central Provinces. George Richard Frederick Tottenham, Esq. C.S.I. C.I.E. Indian Civil Service, lately Secretary to the Government of India in the Defence Department. Theodore James Tasker, Esq. C.I.E.O. B.E. Indian Civil Service, Revenue and Police Member, His Exalted Highness the Nizam's Government, Hyderabad, Deccan. Kenneth McIntyre Kemp, Esq. Barrister at Law, J.P. Advocate General, Bombay. Brigadier Harold John Couchman, D.So. M.C.R.E. Surveyor General of India. John Nesbitt Gordon Johnson, Esq. C.S.I. C.I.E. Indian Civil Service, lately Chief Commissioner of Delhi. Seth Haji Abdullah Haroon, Member of the Central Legislative Assembly, Merchant, Sindh. Colonel Arthur Oliver, CBC, MGF, RC, VSFNL, Royal Army Veterinary Corps, Expert Advisor in Animal Husbandry to the Imperial Council of Agricultural Research, Colonel Edward Earl Gold, CBC, MG, Indian Army, Landlord, Okara, Punjab. Thomas Howard Elderton, ESQ, Chairman, Calcutta Port Trust, Bengal. Frank Burley, ESQ, Member of the Madras Legislative Council, Director, Messrs. Best and Ampco, Limited, Madras. David Burnett Meek, ESQ, CIEO, BE, Indian Educational Service, Indian Trade Commissioner in London. Frank Herbert Brown, ESQ, CIE, Honorary Secretary, East India Association, London. Vivian Everard Dunn Jarrett, ESQ, Agent, Bengal Nagpur Railway. Narayan Vishwanath Mandalik, ESQ, Advocate, Bombay, Colonies, Protectorates, and AMP. C. Y. Shalingam Juraiswamy, ESQ, Speaker of the State Council, Ceylon. Vantalermola New Greyburn, ESQ, for Public Services in Hong Kong. Arthur Edwin Horn, ESQ, C. MG, MD, M. RCP, Consulting Physician to the Colonial Office. George Frederick Huggins, ESQ, O. BE for Public Services in Trinidad. Charles Ewan Law, ESQ, Colonial Legal Service, Chief Justice, Zanzibar. George William Arthur Trimmer, ESQ, M. ICE, M. IMEM, Inst. T. Chairman and General Manager of the Singapore and Penang Harbour Boards, Strait Settlements. Armigel de Van Wade, ESQ, C. MGO, BE, Colonial Administrative Service, Colonial Secretary, Kenya. Order of the Bath, Knights, Dames Grand Cross, Military General Sir John Theodosius Burnett Stewart, KCB, KBE, CMG, DSO. General Sir Hubert de la Poagoff, GCMG, KCB, KCVO. Air Chief Marshal Sir John Miles Steele, KCB, KBE, CMG. Civil Sir Isaac Alfred Isaacs, GCMG, former Governor-General of Australia, Sir Horace John Wilson, GCMG, KCB, CBE. Knights, Dames Commander Military Vice Admiral Sir Geoffrey Blake, CB, DSO, Vice Admiral Sir Alexander Ramsay, KCVO, CB, DSO. Lieutenant General Sir Robert Gordon Finlayson, CB, CMG, DSO. Lieutenant General Sir John Dill, CB, CMG, DSO. Lieutenant General Sir Henry Carslake, KCSI, CB, CMG, DSO. Major General Sir Roger Wilson, CB, DSO, MC. Air Marshal Sir Wilfred Freeman, CB, DSO, MC. Civil Lieutenant Colonel George Augustus Anson, CBE, MVO. John Donald Balfour Ferguson, CB. Edgar John Forsyth, FSA. Sir Thomas Robert Gardner, KBE. Edward Mellenby, FRCP, FRS. Sir James Ray, Sir Godfrey John Vignoles Thomas BT, KCVO, CSI. Sir Gerald Woods Wollaston, KCVO. Companions Military Rear Admiral Francis Thomas Butler Tower, OBE. Rear Admiral Alfred Englefield Evans, OBE. Rear Admiral John Henry Dacres Cunningham, MVO. Rear Admiral Edward Rupert Drummond, MVO. Rear Admiral Herbert Fitzherbert, CMG. Engineer Rear Admiral Augustus George Crusoe. Surgeon Rear Admiral Guy Leslie Buckridge, OBE, MRCS, LRCP, KHS. Paymaster Rear Admiral Arthur Foster Strickland, OBE. Archdeacon Arthur Dean Gilbertson, OBE. Colonel Commandant Alan George Barwaysborn, DSO, MVO. Captain Arthur Goodall Maundrell, CIE, RIN. Major General Osborne Evers, DSO. Major General Francis Stuart Gilderoy Pigott, DSO. Major General Henry Marion Joseph Perry, OBE. Major General Algernon Philip York Langhorne, DSO, MC. Major General Ernest Cyril Jepp, DSO. Major General Viscount Gort, VC, CBE, DSO, MVO, MC. Major General Ernest Kersquires, DSO, MC. Major General Basil Alexander Hill, DSO. Major General Maxwell Speaker Brander, OBE. Major General Donald Kenneth MacLeod, DSO. Major General William Haywood Hamilton, CIE, CBE, DSO, FRCS. Major General John Evelyn Dugan, DSO, MC. Major General Henry Augustus Lewis, CBE. Colonel Arthur Francis Gore Perry Knox Gore, DSO. Colonel Robert Ferguson Locke. Colonel Christopher George Ling, DSO, MC. Colonel James Aubrey Smith, CMG. Air Vice Marshal Arthur Sheridan Barrett, CMG, MC, Royal Air Force. Air Vice Marshal Ernest Leslie Gossage, DSO, MC, Royal Air Force. Air Commodore Albert Victor John Richardson, OBEMBB, CHD, PHK, HS, Royal Air Force. Civil Charles Seymour Wright, OBE, MC. Major General Henry Augustus Lewis, CBE, Director of Artillery, the War Office. Honorary Colonel George Baron Rochdale, President, Territorial Army and Air Force Association of the County of Middlesex. Honorary Colonel Sir Henry William Cameron Ramsay Fairfax Lucy, BT. Chairman, Territorial Army and Air Force Association of the County of Warwick. Colonel Leonard Green, MCTD, Territorial Army, Commander, 125th Infantry Brigade. David Randall Pye, ESQ, MASC, DMI, MEC, EFRAS, Director of Scientific Research, Air Ministry. Order of Merit, Lieutenant General the Lord Baden-Powell, GCMG, GCVO, KCB. Order of the Star of India. Knights Grand Commander the Maharaja of Jind, GCIE, KCSI. Knights Commander Kanwar Sir Jagdish Prasad, CSI, CIE, OBE. Sir Muhammad Zafarullah Khan. Mir Muhammad Nazim Khan, the Mir of Hunza, KCIE. Companions Order of St. Michael and St. George. Knights Grand Cross Sir William Henry Clark, KCSI, KCMG. His Majesty's High Commissioner for Basutoland, the Bechuanaland Protectorate and Swaziland. Sir Robert Randolph Garron, KCMG, KC. For Public Services in the Commonwealth of Australia, the Right Honourable Sir Michael Myers, KCMG, Chief Justice, Dominion of New Zealand. Knights Commander Sir David Thomas Chadwick, CSI, CIE, Secretary of the Imperial Economic Committee and of the Executive Council of the Imperial Agricultural Bureau. The Honourable Sir Frederick Wollaston Mann, LLM, Lieutenant Governor and Chief Justice of the State of Victoria. Algernon Phillips Withewell Thomas, Emeritus Professor, Auckland University College, Dominion of New Zealand. For services to education. Commanders Royal Victorian Order. Dames Grand Cross Evelyn Emily Mary, Duchess of Devonshire. Nina Cecilia, Countess of Strathmore and Kinghorn. Knights Grand Cross Gilbert Earl of Ancaster. Field Marshal Sir William Riddle Birdwood, BT. G. CBA, CSL, CMG, CIED, SO Lieutenant General Sir George Sidney Clive, K. CBC, MGD, SO Air Vice Marshal Sir Philip Wolcott Game A, BEK, CBK, CMG, SO Major the Right Honourable Sir Alexander Henry Lewis Harding, K, CBC, VOM, C. The Most Reverend and Right Honourable Cosmo Gordon Lang, DD, Archbishop of Canterbury. The Right Honourable Sir John Alsbrick Simon A, CSI, K, CVOO, BEKCM, P. Dames Commanders Lady Helen Cynthia Colville, Lady Helen Violet Graham, Knights Commanders Major James Ulick Francis Canning Alexander C, MG, C, VOO, BE Colonel Sir John Atkins, K, CMG, MBF, RC, S. George Neville Maltby Bland, ESQ, C, MG Major General Bertram Norman Surgison Brooke, C, B. C. M.G. D. S.O. The Honourable Gerald Henry Crofton Chichester, C. V.O. Brigadier General Sir Smith Hill Child, B.T. C.B. C. M.G. C. V.O. D. S.O. Arthur William Stewart Cochrane, E.S.Q. C. V.O. Sir Henry Walford Davies, C. V.O.O. B.E. Muse. Doc. Major General Alan John Hunter, C. B. C. M.G. D. S.O.M. C. Robert Uchted Knox, E.S.Q. C. V.O.D. S.O. Edward Howard Marsh, E.S.Q. C.B. C. M.G. C. V.O. George Frederick Still, E.S.Q. M.D. F. R.C. P. Lieutenant Colonel Sir Hugh Stevenson Turnbull, K. B.E. Commanders Colin Mackenzie Black, ESQ, W. S. The Honourable Lettice Mrs. Geoffrey Bulby, Ernest Bullock, ESQ, Muse, Doc. F. R.C. O. Osmond Summers Cleverly, ESQ, James Egger, ESQ, C. B.E. Colonel Lancelot Merivale Gibbs, D. S.O.M. C. The Honourable Arthur Jared Palmer Howard, Eric Cyril Egerton Leadbitter, ESQ, Lieutenant Colonel the Honourable Piers Walter Lee, C. M.G. C. I.E.M. V.O.O. B.E. Brigadier General Robert Cheyne Alexander McAlmont, D. S.O. Percy Metcalfe, ESQ, Colonel William Kenyon Mitford, C. M.G.O. and Frederick Moorshead, ESQ, D. S.O.M. V.O.M. C. Lieutenant Colonel Walter Gordon Neal, C. I.E. Lieutenant Colonel Terence Edmund Gascoigne Nugent, M. V.O.M. C. Major Ronald Thomas Staniforth, M. V.O.M. C. John Everard Stevenson, ESQ, O. B.E. Norman Richard Coombe Warwick, ESQ, M. V.O.O. B.E. Miss Edith Margaret Watson, C. B.E. Miss Dorothy York. Members of the 4th Class Charles Lambert Bain, ESQ. Miss Catherine Black, M. B.E.R. R.C. Lieutenant the Honourable Thomas William Edward Coke. Miss Rosina Davies, M. B.E.A. R.C. Cyril Frederick Gammon, ESQ. Major Norman Wilmhurst Watkin. Major George Frederick Thomas Hopkins, M. V.O.M. C. Miss Cicely Howland, O. B.E. Lionel Logue, ESQ. John Lowther, ESQ. Evision Stevenson McAdam, ESQ, C. B.E. Charles Johns Merle, ESQ, M. B.E. Captain Hugh Donald Ross, M. C. Captain Roy Dugdale Salmon, M. C. Major Christopher Ronald Spear, M. C. Henry Austin Strutt, ESQ. Lieutenant Colonel Edward John Patterson Travis Walker, O. B.E. Members of the 5th Class William Arthur Chadwick, ESQ. Alfred William Evans, ESQ. Miss Helen Louisa Gardner, Henry William Francis Godley, ESQ. William Rose Jarvis, ESQ. Joseph Walter Jones, ESQ. John Thomas Lincoln Kendall, ESQ. Herbert William Kirk, ESQ. Charles Philip Waters, ESQ. Order of the British Empire. Knight Grand Cross Military Division Admiral Sir Frederick Charles Dreyer, K. C.B. C. B.E. General Sir Archibald Rice Cameron, K.C.B.C. M.G. Retired Pay Colonel, The Black Watch, late General Officer, Commanding-in-Chief, Scottish Command, and Governor of Edinburgh Castle. Civil Division Sir Ernest John Stromanger, K.B.E. C.B. lately Deputy Chairman, Unemployment Assistance Board. Lieutenant Colonel His Highness Fakhruddin Ullah Nawab Sir Muhammad Iftikhar Ali Khan Bahadur Salar Jang, K.C.I.E. Nawab of Jaora, Central India. Dame Grand Cross Civil Division Enid Muriel, Mrs. Lyons, for public services rendered in the Commonwealth of Australia. Dames Commanders Civil Division Mary, Mrs. Graham Brown, for services to the stage. Geraldine Southall, Mrs. Cadbury, J.P., for public and philanthropic services in Birmingham. Ellen Francis, Mrs. Pinsent C.B.E., late Senior Commissioner, Board of Control. Miss Violet Edith Wills, for public and philanthropic services. Edith Muriel, Lady Anderson, for public and social welfare services in Newfoundland and the state of New South Wales. Margaret Baroness Strickland, for philanthropic services in Malta. Knights Commanders Military Division Vice Admiral Henry John Studholme Brown Rig, C.B.D. S.O. Vice Admiral James Murray Pippin, C.B.C. M.G. M. V.O.O. B.E. Major General Horace de Courcy Martelli, C.B.D. S.O. late Royal Artillery, Lieutenant Governor and commanding the troops, Jersey District. Major General Edward Nicholson Broadbent, C.B.C. M.G.D. S.O. late the King's Own Scottish Borderers, Lieutenant Governor and commanding the troops, Guernsey and Alderney District. Major General William James Norman Cook Hollis, C.B.C. M.G.D. S.O. late the Royal Ulster Rifles, General Officer commanding Northern Ireland District. Major General Andrew Jameson McCulley, C.B.D. S.O.D. C.M. Colonel, the Highland Light Infantry, Commander, 52nd Division, Scottish Command, late General Officer commanding the troops, Malta. Air Vice Marshal Alfred William Iredell, C.B.M. RCS.L. RCP. K. H.P. Royal Air Force. Civil Division James Sidney Barnes, ESQ, CBO, BE, Deputy Secretary, Admiralty. Gerald Bain Canny, ESQ, CB, Deputy Chairman, Board of Inland Revenue. Evelyn John Maud, ESQ, CB, Deputy Secretary, Ministry of Health. James Sterling Ross, ESQ, CB, BE, Deputy Secretary, Air Ministry. Robert Vaughan, ESQ, for political and public services in Merionethshire. George Bernard Lomas Walker, ESQ, for political and public services in the West Riding of Yorkshire. Henry Herbert Cousins, ESQ, a British subject, until recently resident in Rio de Janeiro. Colonel John Chapel Ward, C.M.G. C.I.E.D. S.O.M.B.E. Director of the Port of Basra and Director of Navigation, Iraqi Government. The Honourable John Richards Harris, M.D. Minister of Public Instruction and Minister of Public Health, State of Victoria. Sir James Gordon MacDonald, O.B.E. for services to Southern Rhodesia. John Sanderson, ESQ, for services to the Commonwealth of Australia. Sir Navroji Bapuji Saklatvala, C.I.E. Director, Messrs. Tata Sons, Limited, Bombay. Rao Bahadur Madhurao Ganesh Deshpande, C.B.E. Chairman and Managing Director of the Central Provinces and Beira Provincial Cooperative Bank, Limited, Nagpur, Central Provinces. Nana Ose Ajuban Prempatu, of Santahen, Gold Coast. Raja Abdulaziz Ibn al-Mahum Raja Musa, Raja Muda of Perak, Federated Malay States, His Highness Daudi Chw et K. CMG, Kabaka of Buganda, Uganda Protectorate. His Highness Tengku Ismail Tengku Mahapur of Johor, Malay states,